Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023. The moon continues to move through Pisces, so we're at that stage just after a new moon. It's still got a very new moonish feel to it, the whole atmosphere today. It's a beginning. It's a beginning of a cycle. It's still a time where we would probably be advised to keep a low profile and not discuss our plans for the future. At the same time, the moon is making a conjunction to Neptune, and this can be deceptive. We can get the wrong ideas about other people's feelings. We might perhaps be overwhelmed by what's going on around us emotionally, particularly if we're a fairly emotional person anyway. For example, if we're a Pisces or maybe a Scorpio or a Cancerian. So it can be all too much, and Neptune might encourage us to jump to conclusions, to delude ourselves about what's really going on in the world. We might get a strong feeling that one thing is going on, but in fact it's going to be something completely different. And as a result, we could make a mistake, or at worst, we could be the victim of deception. So if we're, listening to someone's sales talk, or someone's trying to persuade us about something and they using emotional pressure, it's so easy to fall for it. But I'd advise you to hold firm and not make any decisions today, particularly about money. And while this is going on, Neptune is aspecting the Venus-Mars midpoint. Now, the Venus-Mars midpoint, as I've discussed before, is about sexuality. It's about how the male and female principle relate to each other. And with Neptune on the Venus-Mars midpoint, things connected with sex and passion and that kind of thing could be really treacherous. So sexual attraction is something people are always interested in, particularly if they go to astrology sites. That's sex and astrology and all that kind of thing. But it's dangerous, and today it could be really dangerous. And so if you feel a sudden sexual attraction towards someone, think again. It may not be going in the right direction. And at the same time, sexual activity could be strange. It could lead into areas that maybe you don't want to go. So be careful. There's a lot of there are a lot of pitfalls out there, and so as soon as you're confused, as soon as you don't know what's going on in terms of relationships, then back off. On a positive note, the hypothetical planet Cupido is making a 90-degree aspect to the Venus-Jupiter midpoint. This is a relationship configuration, and I should say something about Cupido. Yes, it's a hypothetical planet. It doesn't actually exist. Its supposed discovery is rather unusual. It was discovered during the First World War. The astrologer Alfred Witter was, I believe, a soldier in the German army, and he was trying to predict Russian artillery barrages. And he thought he could use astrology to do it. And using the existing planets, he couldn't work it out. So what he did was he plotted when the artillery barrages were coming, and then he assumed, when he knew when they were in the past, so he sort of reverse engineered it and said, well, there must be a planet out there which would explain the artillery barrages. And I believe he came up with this planet Cupido, which is actually a planet of relating to love, according to him. So although I believe artillery was used to discover it, it's not really to do with artillery. And with Cupido is, with Cupido aspecting the Venus-Jupiter midpoint, despite all the warnings I've given you about relationships, there could be good news, unexpected news about some relationship moves to a new level. It doesn't have to be romance. It could be business. It could be just a regular friendship. It could be something. There may be good news. It's probably a very good time to announce a wedding, that kind of thing. And so if you have an opportunity to tell everyone, you want to tell people you're going to get married, or you want to get involved in wedding plans with Cupido on the Venus-Jupiter midpoint, now might be the time to do it. Now, on a different note, the planet Mercury is making a stressful 90-degree aspect to Uranus. So on a mental level, there's a lot of tension. We could say things very quickly without really thinking about what we're going to say. It's going to be quite electric as the words come out. And this Mercury Uranus, sorry, did I say? Yeah, it is a Mercury Uranus square. Mercury's at 50. Sorry, it's a Mercury. Yeah, Mercury Uranus square. Mercury is at 15 Aquarius. Uranus is at 15 Taurus. So there's a lot of tension there, and they're both aspecting the Aries point. Remember, the Aries point is the world at large. So this Mercury is triggering Uranus. We've just had Venus triggering Uranus, so Mercury's going to do it as well. And so what we're going to experience today is potentially more explosive events. I've been talking about explosive events a lot, and Uranus is brought back into focus. And there may be messages which are quite shocking. We hear news which we really weren't expecting. But the question is, how do we respond to the news? Sometimes the message is crazier than its contents. That might sound strange, but perhaps the way the message is presented completely freaks us out. But when we actually look at the message, it's probably not quite as dramatic as it seems to be. So if you get a message that you weren't expecting, perhaps a message that you find a bit disturbing, then don't panic. Sit down, work it out, and don't overreact. Anyway, that's all I've got to say for today, and I will see you tomorrow.